Welcome to Passion Inspires. Join us as we explore the world of marketing and design and share insights and stories that spark inspiration and drive meaningful change. Welcome to Passion Inspires. This is part of our nonprofit Changemaker series, and I've invited Karen Horrigan to join us today because she has been such a great help for me in so many different ways in my LinkedIn and social media presence. And so much so that I wanted you to be our guest.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I love working with you because you're creative and you follow along and you're open to new ideas. And you've really jumped into it.
Well, you've been awesome from the very beginning. What is the name of your company and what do you do basically in your consulting services? Let's start with that.
The name of the company is Kareismatic, but it's spelled very interestingly. My name is Karen. And so it's Kareismatic. So it's a play on my name as well as a play on charismatic is attracting loyal followers, which is what we want to do in our social media.
Yeah. And you have 3 premises on your LinkedIn page about making your brand personal, content meaningful, and marketing relatable. And I love those 3 kind of vision statements. Do you want to talk about that at all first, Karen, before we jump into some practical sides of LinkedIn?
Yeah, it's talking about overall marketing, how we look at it a little bit differently than we used to. I really want to change this up. I want to, as you and I had talked about before, how do we engage with people? Instead of just throwing a post out there, instead of just throwing the little emoji with a happy birthday, we know we clicked because 10 other people clicked it and it's all the way down, the little emoji. How do we build those personal relationships? So changing up what we're doing with LinkedIn and making it relatable to the people that we want to have the conversations with. This is really important too. Just throwing content out there that we want to share isn't going to get that conversation. We need to put content out there that our ideal clients or our ideal audience needs and wants to chat about.
I want to talk more about that, but I want to first back up a little bit and share with the audience that the very first meeting we had, you focused on my personal page on LinkedIn. What was missing there and what did you want to see that you didn't see? Do you remember that at all?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
This is actually very common. What people don't think about is how important their profile is because that's someone's first impression of you. And that's either inviting people in to get to know you and have a conversation, or it's pushing them away and they're going to skip over it. So is it a stale resume or is it a sales pitch? We don't want to.
Shouldn't it be a sales pitch?
Yeah. How many times have you seen that?
That's what we all think about,
but
right?
The sales pitch doesn't invite us in for a conversation. If you think about when we're out networking face to face, do you walk up and say, "Hey, Jeff, I got XYZ to sell you"? You don't. So we don't want to do that on our profile because that's somebody's first connection with us. We want to invite them in to get to know us and have a conversation because I can't see the warmth of your smile or your eyes or the tone of your voice. So our profile, our personal brand inside that profile is what's going to invite people in. So that's the first piece.
Is there anything more specific about that, Karen, as far as what, like, for example, obviously, one of the things you helped me see was that every piece of that profile was important to make sure it was thorough, obviously not missing any key things, but really the whole tone of it, though, you helped me look at the tone of that differently than what I had been doing. Because before it was like, yeah, I'm part of Scott Allen Creative. We do marketing for nonprofits, blah, blah, blah. And I probably already lost you in that first sentence. What did you say I should be saying instead of that?
You should have been talking about your passion and why you do it, especially in the About section. The About section is who you are. It's not your experience. We have the Experience section down there. So your About section is how you work with people, your values, what you do to help them. So that's how they get to know you and they want to have that conversation with you. But yes, every single piece of it, starting with the banner. So if your cover banner across the top is blank, it's like driving down the highway and seeing a big old billboard that has nothing on it. That's what it is. So you're losing that great advertising opportunity. But that should also be something that reflects you, your values, and who you are. It can be your business, it can be you, it can be a combination of it. But that's my first introduction because it's a great big chunk as soon as you pop up on your LinkedIn page. So you want that to say, I want to get to know you more.
How about the photo?
The photo with the
Should I
sunglasses.
smile?
Yeah, the photos with the sunglasses. Oh, yeah, that's really approachable. Or no photo. Or the photo with the whole. I had a gentleman, this is really good. I was going to meet with him at a coffee house, and he was in a band, a trio or something, but that's not why I was meeting him. He had a separate business. And so the photo was the trio. And I'm like, I don't know who he is. I'm going to meet him at a coffee house. I don't know which one he is.
Which band member is he?
Yes.
Ringo or John or Paul?
So the photo is really important, but the photo should reflect who you are. So if you're a landscaper wanting to do business with corporations, wear a
Yeah.
polo shirt, not a suit jacket, because
Yeah.
you're a landscaper.
Yeah.
So make sure your attire fits who you are and who you want to have a conversation with.
Is there anything else about the profile page before we move on?
Oh, there's lots about the profile page. Your title.
Okay.
So if you put owner, you're one of the owners. So my title is owner. Who's going to look for an owner? Me, because I want to market to you. Instead, put out there who you want to reach, how you're reaching them, what you're doing, how you're helping them. So change it up so when I'm going in that search bar, I am looking for you, not the owner, but you, the person that I want to hire, instead of the person I want to sell.
Yeah. That's good.
And one other thing that is huge and missed so often is your contact or your contact information.
Okay.
So often I go there, it's wrong, it's missing, or only half of it's there. So this has happened to me twice. I've met somebody networking, and I went to introduce them to someone else. I had sent the connection request, but they hadn't accepted it yet. So they're a third. They're far enough down that I can't private message them.
Yeah.
But I couldn't connect with them because their contact information was missing or wrong.
Wow. That blows my mind a bit.
I would
It's pretty
say
basic stuff,
probably
right?
20% of the people I work with. It's surprising how many have it incorrect. And you can put your website out there, you can put your blog out there, you can put all of this great information so I can just go round robin from your email to your phone number to your website, right there in that contact information.
Yeah.
And it's missed.
Wow. What else?
You want to just keep going down every section.
Yeah.
There's a feature section, which is really great. A lot of people don't know about it. So you have to go add it in. It's not automatically there.
Okay.
But once you go up to the top and add a profile section, this feature section is static. It stays. It doesn't scroll like your newsfeed. And you can put these videos out there. You can put, you have a special promotion or event going on. You can change them up seasonally or however you want, but they stay right there in your profile. They don't scroll like the newsfeed.
Yeah.
So that's a great little thing that we can do that a lot of people don't have in there. The other piece that's really super important is when you're asking for a recommendation. Make sure you're doing that on a regular basis. I had a young lady and she had asked for so many recommendations. She had over 100 and she stopped. Well, the problem is all of a sudden it's been a year and a half and she didn't have any recommendations. So it looked kind of strange. So you have to, on a regular basis, ask for those recommendations. It showcases your work and it shows it from a different perspective. And that's really what builds your reputation and your credibility.
Wow. I haven't done that for a while.
Yeah, well, and you'll see, you definitely want to go and check it out.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to do. When we forget about it and we're like, oh, I don't know if I should ask. And then people don't give it to you because they don't know what to write. So there's a trick. So first we want to ask them either in person, text, email, and then send them the request
Okay.
right inside LinkedIn. But then we want to think about what they said to us, that why we wanted to ask them in the first place.
Yeah.
You tell me so many kind things, as you did in the beginning of this, how much I've helped you out. So when I send that request, I'm going to put bullet points of the things we talked about
Beautiful.
that you said you really appreciated.
Yeah. Make
So
it
that's
easy.
going to help you write that. Otherwise, you're going to say, I don't know what to write. Oh my gosh, you're going to set it aside. You're going to set it aside again. And then 2 months pass. I'm not going to do that anymore. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't get done. But they gushed over how well you worked together and they loved it.
Yeah, that's right. So just
So
reiterate those conversations.
that's exactly it.
That's sweet.
Yeah. So you want to do it as soon as somebody starts gushing over you, say, would you mind? And they don't because they're so excited about it anyways.
Yeah, that's good. So
And it,
take advantage of that moment.
yes. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Well, I really appreciated having you by my side, just helping guide me for every one of those steps. It really gave me reassurance that, okay, now once I get that done, I can move on to strategy and other tactics and things like that. But it really is the foundation, isn't it? That's where
It
we all need
is.
to start.
It absolutely is. And we're all so close to our business and what we do and what we want to share. Having somebody walk through it with you step by step and asking you questions helps you see it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy doing. It's like, oh, I hadn't considered that, or I hadn't thought about it that way. So you look at it completely differently.
So I want to bring up something very vital. I think that we had talked about this in the very beginning. You may have even taught me this, that our personal page gets a lot more interaction than a corporate page on LinkedIn. So can you just reiterate that, just how important our personal pages are?
And that is true. Think about this. When you're out on LinkedIn, are you engaging with Charismatic or are you engaging with Karen Horgan in a conversation? I don't too often go to somebody else's business page. I want to engage in conversation with them. So that's how much more traffic you're going to get on your personal page than your business page. If you think about it, just take time to think about how many times have I engaged with a business page? Not too many.
Yeah, I don't know if I hardly ever do, unless I want to see who works there or things like that.
Yes, exactly. So you're
Yeah.
not engaging in a conversation. It's with that person. So yes, that is true. The personal page gets way more views and way more conversation than the business page because we're doing business with you. We're not doing business with Charismatic or Scott Allen Creative. We're doing business with you, your personality and what you bring to the table because we enjoy doing business with you. So that is really important to understand that your personal brand is your business brand when it comes to LinkedIn.
So before we dive into your sage wisdom on what content to create and the lens that we see through when we're thinking of creating a post, tell me what we shouldn't be doing. I guess people will understand what we should be doing when you first tell us what. Because I know when I see a post of someone that's always like these selfies and always about me and all of that, it's like, number one, while they're doing it, should I be doing it? That's
Yes.
one question we always ask. And we look at other people as examples to, oh, those are ideas. Maybe I'll try that.
That is true. And that's how people have learned to use LinkedIn. Most people have learned to use LinkedIn just following and copying someone else. And they don't realize what they're doing is incorrect. So the sales pitch, here I am, look at me, the sales pitch all the time. Now I follow someone and she said, put a call to action on every single post. I don't believe in that. I don't think every single post has to have a call to action because we're having a conversation just like you and I are. So at the end of that, should I be having a call to action at the end of every
asking me to do
conversation?
something?
Yeah, at every conversation. So I don't believe that every single post has to have a call to action. I don't think it has to have a sales pitch. And I think we need to look at what your ideal audience wants instead of what you want to tell them. I want to give you an example. This is a story I've used forever, so some people may have already heard it, but I had a gentleman and I worked with him in his content. And I said he sold insurance for Medicare, Medicaid, healthcare insurance. So he worked on it and he put his post out and he sent me a private message. He said, what do you think about this? And the message is, open enrollment is X dates. Make sure you sign up for your healthcare insurance checkup. Well, that's what he wanted them to know. And he forgot they don't know what he knows. So we need to make sure we bring it down to their level. So I sent him a note and said, what if you added, Have you changed doctors? Have you got a new prescription? Are you out of state for 3 or 6 months? All of these things make a difference for your healthcare insurance. Make sure you call and get your appointment.
Wow. That brings it down to people's real life and what they're going through.
It's now relatable to you.
Yeah.
It wasn't relatable to you because you didn't know why you needed it. I got the insurance. I don't need the appointment.
Yeah.
You didn't know why you needed it. So we need to make sure it's relatable to our ideal audience, not to what we want to tell them.
Sometimes that's hard to get to, or do you feel like there's
It
kind of a,
is.
how do you
I get
you
stuck
get
in
there?
it. We have to step back after we create the content because our brain is running. And so we want to create the content. And then after you step back, you get all your ideas out, look at it from a different perspective. If I didn't know this industry, if I didn't know everything I know from my business perspective, would I understand this? Does this make sense? Would I want to read this? Is this helpful to me?
Yeah.
Because we are so close to it, sometimes we forget what we're sharing, maybe a little over their head, or something that they don't even need to know. But we want to look so good. Look at me. I know all this information and I'm using all these big words that people, after a while, they're like, they're intimidated, so they're not going to comment because they're intimidated by the big words or the industry words.
So you said something profound there. Look at me. And you gave me a story in the very beginning about a real estate agent.
Yes.
Can you share that story with us?
Yes, absolutely. So there was a client, and between Christmas and New Year's, she had closed on 2 homes, which is a little unusual for closing on homes. So she had posted that out on LinkedIn. Now, I know her and I know her brand. It is nothing like this. It's not about me. It's not about her. And I said, how did that post make you feel? And she said, it made me feel icky. It made me feel kind of dirty. It wasn't who I am. And I knew that, of course, up front.
But what would be
And I
wrong with
said,
posting about her 2 closings?
and I said,
I want to push you on that.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's all about me. Look at me. I did 2 closings. Is that something that you would like to read? Does that inspire you? Does that educate you or give you anything of value?
No, not really. I mean, it's her success, but
It's her.
what should it be instead of that?
It should be about the families. Really excited that we have
Oh,
2 families starting out the new year in their brand new home.
wow. That's pretty
And
profound.
telling a story, all of a sudden that story is interesting. And I want to read about these families or know about these families or what prompted these families to move in the middle of the holiday season or buy a home in the middle of the holiday season.
So maybe even a quote from them, or at least, like you said, a glimpse into their story.
Yes, yes. It's like, what would you enjoy reading?
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations, great, you sold these 2 homes. Don't get me wrong, but we see them every day from every realtor and mortgage person. After a while, they're old
Yeah.
and they're not bringing me value. So I want to have conversations with people that are bringing me value and that I can share my value with. So even if you told me the story, it may inspire me, or it may make me smile, or it may just evoke some kind of lovely emotion.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the most profound things that you have taught me, Karen, that it's not, one of the lens that I put on is that it's not about me. And sometimes people might say, well, what does that mean? Because you're just posting about your artwork or a design you did for a client or whatever. So in that sense, yeah, it's about me and my life, but ultimately it's not about me. Like even I put on your lens for that when I posted about a piece of art that I had done recently, but it was about Stephen Duran and what he taught me about. And this is so profound for me. I still see what he said to this day as being so profound, where he said, your job as an artist is to help people see beauty that they might not notice. And so as an impressionist, you bring out colors that people wouldn't see, right? The beauty that's there that we don't see. And so that post wasn't really about me. It was about Stephen Duran
Absolutely.
and what
And
I learned at Kendall College of Art and Design.
that's exactly it. You
And
can share your story. We want to get to know you. We want you to invite us into your world. And that's a perfect way to do it. And you have really really stepped that up. When we talked about that in your content, you have really stepped it up. And the conversations I see around your post and the story that you're telling really pulls people in. You've done a great job with that. And that's what the realtor needed to do, or all of us need to do, is we need to look at it a little bit differently. What is it that's going to invite them in to get to know us, but yet also not say, look at me, here I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just opening ourselves up a little bit more, and it's showcasing other people at the same time. We had talked about this the last time I was here. We came to see this beautiful space, and you showed me your office. And there's a lovely piece of artwork that you had bought at one of the nonprofits at a fundraiser. And you told me the story about this piece of art. Tell the story, just a short story about this piece of art.
Well, we had been working for Heartside Ministry, which reaches out to homeless people who are in homelessness. And they provide art studios for 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional art. And my assignment was to go in and take photos of people doing art so that they could raise money for a capital campaign to a better building. And I told them that I wanted to spend time with these people instead of just go in, take photos, and get out. But part of that spending time was getting to know them. And there was an artist who had schizophrenia, and she would paint different styles depending on who she was at that time. And I fell in love with a piece that she did. It was a self-portrait, and it had "Art Saved Me" written across the top. And it just, even today, makes me, it moves my heart, because for these precious people, that is one thing that emotionally is saving them. And so that's why it's my favorite piece.
And it's my favorite piece, and it's my favorite story, because that story right there, telling that in a post, showing that picture in your office and telling that story, it showcases her and her challenges. It showcases Heartside. It showcases you as a creative. And it tells such a heartwarming story. And that right there is a great piece of content.
Yeah.
And so you only need to put 1 or 2 of those out a week. You don't
Okay.
need to put 5 out a week. If they're not good, if they're average, we're going to skip over them anyways.
Okay.
So putting something out there that really evokes emotion and we enjoy having the conversation and talking about is much better than 5 posts, just scheduling 5 random posts out.
So one lens, it's not about me.
Yes,
That's
yes,
one lens.
yes.
Another,
But it is
go ahead.
indirectly.
Yes, it is. So it's kind of a weird, maybe you can reframe that or say it better than that. I don't know if there's a better statement that would.
It's about letting people get to know you.
Okay.
So it's not making it all about me. Look at me. It's all about me letting you get to know me.
Okay. That's helpful. So another profound directive that you gave me as my sage teacher in LinkedIn was be genuine. And this is something that really freed me up emotionally, Karen, because again, sometimes, I'm an introvert. I'm not an extrovert, outgoing salesperson. And sometimes I wish I had a better personality, and you know what I mean? You just
We all have those insecurities.
Yeah.
They're a little bit different, but we all have them.
Yeah, and those were real for me. Like, I'm not as successful as that person, or whatever those comparisons are. But when you talked about being genuine, Karen, that really freed me up. Can you talk about why that's so important?
Because when we're reading through Facebook, we're trying so hard. We see people trying so hard. They're using, like I said earlier, the big words or the industry words. They're trying so hard to stand out. They're losing themselves. And so we're not making that personal connection. That's the whole point of LinkedIn, is making the personal connections. We can gather up 5,000 followers, but if we're not making that personal connection, we're not going to make that sale. It goes back to, we do business with people we know, like, and trust. I can't know, like, or trust you if you're not genuine in your conversations or in your post. Your post come from since we talked about that and that light bulb went on, your post changed so much, and they are so real, and they pull you in, and you want to be part of it. And I see that from the conversation that's happening in your post. I love reading all the conversations that's going on besides just the post itself. And that's what it's supposed to be about. That's how we get to know each other. That's how we build relationships face to face. So why wouldn't we do that online?
Yeah.
We forget we're hiding behind a screen, but there's someone else on the other side of that screen. Would we say those things to somebody in person? Would we talk that way to someone in person?
I love that too, Karen, because you talked about we are also to respond to other people's posts. But when you made that comment, that Jeff comment, the way you would talk to them in person, that also freed me up.
Yeah,
Because I didn't have to come up with something that was profound or,
because it wasn't you and it wasn't comfortable. You were
yeah,
trying to write as somebody else
yeah,
because you wanted to look good.
yeah,
But
that's
we don't,
true.
but that's not who we want to engage with. And that's not how I'm going to get to know you. When you're writing as someone else, then I meet you and I have this conversation. It's like, who was that writing that? Or vice versa.
Yeah,
So let people in to get to know you. If they don't like you, it's okay. Somebody is always not going to like you, no matter what you write out there. So put your heart out there, put your genuine conversations out there, because you're going to attract the people that do appreciate it and want to have that conversation with you.
so
And if
good.
they don't, perfect. They're probably not someone you want to have a conversation with either. They have different values, different beliefs, different, maybe they're super detailed or super engineer oriented, and it may not fit with a creative. Nothing wrong with either one of you.
Yeah,
They're just not a good fit.
yeah.
So let's not try to attract somebody that's not a good fit by writing to make sure everybody likes it.
If I'm so busy, why shouldn't I let someone else do the writing for me? What if I'm a really busy vice president of development or executive director? I don't have time for LinkedIn, and I'm going to have my marketing director write my posts for me, and that's what I'm going to do. What would you say to that person?
I would say, do they know your voice? Do they have your knowledge, your skills? Do they know the conversations you've had with these other people? I'm going to notice that's not you writing it. Do I want to engage with you and your profile when I know it's not you writing it? When I know it's not you putting the post out? When I know it's you not having that conversation? I'll give you an example. There was somebody that I know very well, and she had, now AI is in LinkedIn, so you can have AI write for you, either your post or your comments. And so she had AI write her comment. I could tell it wasn't her. I could tell that wasn't her style, it wasn't her voice. And it's like, do I want to engage in that conversation with her? Because it wasn't her. It was very obvious. And it's like, do we want to engage with AI or do we want to engage with the person that's in that profile? Our personal brand and our personal conversations are more important than ever because we are losing a bit of that. And how are we going to build those personal relationships to
Wow.
build that trust?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to buy from you if I don't trust you. And how am I going to trust you without building that personal relationship? And I build that personal relationship through conversation. And if it's not you having the conversation, then when we get together, I'm talking with somebody different than I just got to know.
So we kind of bring it to the opposite extreme of being impersonal,
Yes.
and that turns some of us, most of us, maybe all of us off in the end.
Well, we're out there to build relationships. And if we're trying to build relationship with people, they're obviously trying to build relationships with me, even though it's through AI. Then how, you don't even know me when I come in there. You don't know who I am or even how to interact with a conversation or with what I'm going to talk about because it wasn't you.
Hmm. Yeah, I've had clients. That's true for all different ways of communication, right? I mean, people can sense if you send out an email that's just generically written, or if you're ghostwriting for other people and it's not genuine. It just seems so generic because it could be five different people that you're ghostwriting for, but they all sound the same. Now, emotionally, you flagged my emotions to say this isn't genuine anyway. Why should I support this nonprofit if they're not going to be genuine? Is that too harsh of a?
No, it's not because I've just noticed recently. I get a lot of emails with people's newsletters. And all of a sudden, in the last probably 3 months, they all look the same. They all have the little emojis thing with the checkbox. They all have the long dash. They all have the same words, unleash, harness, all the AI. So you know AI wrote them. I mean, they have their content blended in there, but they're all generic now. They all look exactly the same. It's like, am I going to even open your email anymore? I mean, there is some good content in there, but it's so generic and it looks like everyone else's. Change up the format. Take out the emojis. Take out the long dashes. Change the words that are overused so it looks like you at least, instead of me saying, oh, yeah, AI wrote that one. Oh, yep, AI wrote that one. The same thing with the content. When AI is writing the content, sometimes you can tell. Some people have gotten their brand in there enough and they tweak it.
Yeah.
So it's both, which is good. But when you can tell AI wrote it, do you want to engage with it?
I personally don't. And I talked to someone the other day where they said they unsubscribed from a nonprofit because they knew the emails were canned emails, and they just were so turned off after a while. They just kind of gave up and they unsubscribed. And
There was no emotional connection.
no, and
And as people, we want that emotional connection. That's why we are engaging with you, whether it's the email, the comment, the post. We're engaging because we want that connection. We want to build that relationship. And it's lost. That relationship it can't build when it's only one-sided.
And Karen, it reminds me, if you and I were having a conversation, I kept giving you canned responses.
Yeah.
After a while, you would say, I'm really not interested in hanging out with him again.
Well, that's exactly it.
It's the same thing.
That's exactly, yes, great point. That is. Yeah. And it doesn't matter whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, email, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
We're here to have a conversation. And I'll use this example as well. I love to tell stories because it helps people relate. I went to a networking event recently and I was asking someone about their space, their new space, and whatever. They told me about it. And they asked me what I did. I told them. They're like, oh, after talking to me about half an hour about their space, they asked one question and walked away. And 2 minutes later, someone walked up and it's like, here, I do this. Okay. And they walked away. And a third person walked up, gave me their card. And it's like, why am I here? None of them bothered to get to know me, wanted to get to know me. Why am I going to buy from you if you're just selling me all the time? You didn't even give me a chance to get to know you to see if I wanted to buy from you. And so it's the same thing on LinkedIn. When we're just throwing posts out there and we're not engaging in other people's conversations, we're just throwing posts out there. We're throwing their business card out there. Here it is, here it is, here it is. Hope you stop and like it, but did you stop and like mine? You're just throwing your post out there and walking out the door.
In our world of nonprofits, all the more it should be heartfelt and a
Absolutely.
human connection.
That's why they're giving.
You don't expect that maybe from a corporation, but of any place, it needs to be in the nonprofit world.
I agree. Absolutely. It should be, because that's why you're giving, because you're heartfelt about that particular organization or what they're doing, whether it's medical or whatever it is. There are all different types of nonprofits out there, but you are heartfelt towards that particular organization and what they're doing. And if you lose that connection, like I said earlier, when it's one-sided, you're going to go away. And it doesn't matter if it's a nonprofit or a business. Businesses still need to do that. They need to make that connection.
Yeah, I agree. So what if someone says, like, we're in the nonprofit world, that's my client base, right? But I'm sure this applies in the corporate world too. I don't have time to be genuine. I don't have time to write that one paragraph or whatever the reason. I don't have the capacity. Would you recommend for them to do less and make it genuine and
Yes.
true and personal?
Absolutely.
Even if they do a fourth or fifth of what they might crank out?
Yes, yes. And I actually have a program coming out soon, and it talks about this. It's like, I don't have time. Okay, do you have an hour a week? 1 hour a week. you can build those genuine relationships in 1 hour a week because you need to be strategic about it. You don't, as we talked about earlier, you don't need to put 5 posts out there. You don't have to tell 2 long stories. The one story was lovely and wonderful, but you could tell a tip. You could tell advice that they can use today to make their life easier or better or the business better. So you two of them. So one can be quick and short. It's so helpful. And then the next part is go out and start engaging in other people's posts. Start building that conversation with people that you want to get to know.
That's
So
really profound insight, but that's where people are going to kick back. I don't have time. But just like you mentioned earlier, if it's real
less
life, we have to be giving back.
less than an hour a week. So how many times do people pick up their phone and start scrolling? Because I've got 10 minutes between my appointment. I've got time that I finish this and my next one isn't coming in. And we pick up our phone and we start scrolling mindlessly through whatever it is, through the news feed, social media, whatever it is. How often do we do that a day? 3, 4 times? So I'm
8, 10.
so I'm saying once a day, stop scrolling. Once a day. Now, some of the people in a higher level, they're probably not scrolling as often through their social media, but they're probably scrolling through news feeds or other feeds. So once a day, stop, have your list. I really want you to have a program put in place, a marketing plan put in place. But so part of that is your list. I need to go engage with Susie, Jim, John this week because I haven't talked to them in 6 months.
Wow.
So literally go out to their post. It takes you less than
Wow.
10 minutes to
So
write
good.
2 sentences. Okay, so you can't do all 3 of them today. So do 2 today, 2 tomorrow. It took you less than 10 minutes. So I don't have time is now becoming an excuse for it's not important to me.
Yeah, I love that, Karen, because that still is still pointing to, am I going to invest in other people as I would hope they would invest in my life? And if I'm not willing to give online, on LinkedIn or whatever platform I choose to be on, I probably shouldn't be there.
Well, if you don't want to have the conversation, they're posting comments in yours, you're posting comments in theirs. So you're building that relationship. But if you're not doing that, you're missing the value and then it is a waste of your time. Because just throwing 5 posts out a week, you're not going to get the value that you want. It's not going to work. And I hear it all the time. It doesn't work. You're right. It doesn't work because you don't have a plan. Any other area of your business, do you have a marketing plan? You have to have a very specific marketing plan because your goal, my goal, his goal are all going to be completely different. And so we have to look at what our goals are and then how do we reach that? So maybe your goal is to get a bigger audience, especially for the nonprofits. Maybe your goal is to build your reputation. Maybe your goal is, of course, it is to get more sales, but it is to build up that conversation. So I'm building up that relationship. We all have different goals. So we have to look at them and create a plan. But it always goes back to we have to build the relationships to make those goals happen.
Yeah, and the idea of commenting on their posts, if I don't have a lot of time, which most of us don't, should I comment or should I just like? What is the difference between those two options? Because you explained this to me too, and it was super helpful.
Like is always good because we know you've read it. Because I hear people say, I don't get any likes or shares, but then people tell me they love it. So hitting the like button is really nice. It makes people know that you've seen it and that you appreciated it. So the like is very helpful. So if you don't have time, if you really, really don't have time, hit the like button because it does help them know that their content is being seen and appreciated.
Yeah.
But the comment, that's how you start building relationships because, again, it goes back to the know, like, and trust. And I can't get to know you if I don't have a conversation with you. So posting your insight on my post, asking a question, sharing your thoughts about it. I'm getting to know you, and other people in my newsfeed are getting to know you. So they're commenting on your comments as well. So you're getting a lot of visibility by commenting on my post.
Because people can see the comments, obviously, much easier than a little tiny, tiny circle of someone's reaction. Right?
Yes. Yes.
But that was super helpful to know that you even said it increases the algorithm
It does.
like twofold versus
Yes.
just reacting or liking something. To comment on something has a twofold result in the
Yeah.
algorithms.
It helps your algorithms and helps you be seen more.
Yeah.
Because it says this is a good post. People like it. I'm going to let it be seen more. But it also, when you're commenting on somebody else's, it's showing your name, your title, and your comment. So you're being seen there. And that helps your algorithms as well. And other people can comment on your comment. So you're getting additional views.
And we're having a conversation with somebody. So if I haven't seen someone in a year or two, I still can have some conversations with them through LinkedIn.
Yes, you should, because we lose touch with people so easy.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is a great place. So, what happens when we go out networking, we get that card? "Ah, I really enjoyed this conversation. Let's connect on LinkedIn and keep it going." So, we connect on LinkedIn, and for about 2 months, LinkedIn pops you up into my algorithms. And then after that, it may die down.
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden, I forget about you. And 6 months later, we haven't had a conversation. But I really enjoyed our conversation. So I have to make that part of my marketing plan to stay in touch because, oh, you know what? Matter of fact, I was just talking about somebody and Jeff could help them. If we just stay top of mind, a quick, how are you? Or go look at their post and engage with it once in a while so you're staying top of mind is so easy.
So compare LinkedIn for me, please, for a moment versus the other platforms. Because some, people like Gary Vee be on all the platforms, post as often as you can. He also agrees with you, obviously, about being genuine, which I love about Gary Vee, because that's most important thing, right? Just like for you too. But if we can't be on all of them because of time,
But is your
if you
ideal client on all of them?
if you're in business and you do B2B work, why is LinkedIn the best platform? Maybe it's an obvious answer, but you have some thoughts on that.
Well, the first thing is that where your ideal client is? And is that the dollar income where your ideal client is? LinkedIn has higher income and higher education more so than some of the other platforms. So, first of all, who is your ideal client? This will help answer that question. Is I put the dog walker on LinkedIn. Why did I put the dog walker on LinkedIn? Because her ideal client was on LinkedIn. Now, yes, she can be on Facebook, and that's a great platform for her as well. But you think about the busy business professional. He's not working at 7 o'clock in the morning. He's going to work, and then he has a meeting or a dinner afterwards. Fido needs to go out at some point.
Yeah.
She got clients on LinkedIn as the dog walker because that's where her ideal client was.
Yeah. That's
They could
good.
afford to pay her.
Yeah.
They needed her services. They weren't going to be home. So that was a great place for her. So you got to look at who your ideal client is, who your ideal audience is, not just your client, but your audience as well. Your business partner, referral partners, where you're going to have those conversations. More than one platform could be good. However, we have to know if that's where your ideal client is. I have a young lady that does luxury travel. She's a travel agent and she's on Facebook. That's not where her ideal client is. They love the pictures, they love the conversation, and she has a group, but none of them are booking with her. None of them are even asking the right questions. It's because they're not the luxury high-end travel that pays for the driver to come and pick them up and hold the sign and get them there instead of the Uber or the taxi or the bus. So you
Yeah.
have to go where the income is and the lifestyle. So you have to think about it. Now, there's something else that goes with that. I have someone that she has 2 clients. She helps seniors downsize when they're moving into either assisted living or apartments or something outside of their big home. So one client is the senior. The other client is the adult child of the senior.
Yeah.
So the conversation she has on LinkedIn is targeted to the adult client or the adult child. The other one on Facebook is targeted to her senior who is moving.
Wow.
So
Because that demographic is on Facebook more.
yes, yep. Seniors are on on Facebook because they want to see their grandchildren.
Yep. It makes sense.
So you got to think about their lifestyle.
Yeah. That's good.
You've got to think about, can they afford my product? If they can't afford your product, it doesn't matter how much you advertise and how much they love it. They're never going to buy it.
Yeah, that's
So you
good,
have
Karen.
to think about all the pieces before you just say, yeah, be everywhere. And you can if you hire someone to go ahead and be everywhere and get that visibility. But if you don't have the time or the resources, be where you know your ideal client is and you're going to engage in the conversation and build those relationships as opposed to the conversation you're going to have on Facebook over and over again with a client that's never going to buy because they can't afford to. They love it and they love to talk about it and it's great, but that's not who they are.
Any other pieces about LinkedIn, like do's or don'ts that we need to keep in mind?
I think we covered quite a few of them. I'm trying to think right off the top of my head.
One is imagery. I thought you had shared with me that if I post a stock photo, the algorithms recognize whether it's seen that photo before, and if they've seen it multiple times, it will bring the views down
That is true.
versus an original photo.
Good memory. Thanks for the assist. Great memory. That is very true. That is very true. And the other piece that goes with that is a lot of people, they're a franchise, like the insurance company may be a franchise, like a State Farm or a Farm Bureau.
Yeah.
And there's many companies like this, and their company puts out great content. However, there's thousands of insurance agents using that same content.
Yeah, good point.
And the algorithm just hits that. It's like, no, it's the same exact content here and here and here. So you have to put fresh content out there. You can put that out there once in a while because it's really good information. But if that's the only thing you put out there, the algorithms is going to hit you and you're just not going to get views. It's not, and I'll tell you right up front, it's not going to work. Maybe put it in one of your feature sections because it's a great piece of content that people want to learn about. So put it in your features so they can go in and look at that anytime. And maybe put something fresh in something, maybe a story. Tell a story about a loss, an insurance loss, and how you protected them or how they didn't do something. They decided not to take this insurance and how it affected them. So I'm learning something from you as opposed to just always posting what my corporate office puts out.
That's so good.
And you do want to show your face sometimes. Though I've said, oh, all about me, all about me. Honestly, you do want to show your face because you want people to recognize you. And as soon as they scroll down and they see your face, they're like, oh, Jeff, oh my gosh. Now, it doesn't have to be a selfie. It can be Jeff at the open house.
Yeah, that's right.
They're
Yeah.
going to still recognize you in the event and whatever it is. Because I have people say, I'm not doing that. But they will if it's other people in there with them. So showing your face is a good thing, just not necessarily on every single post.
Okay. How about tagging people? Because I think you also share with me a real big insight about that.
Yes.
I'm at an event with 20 people. I have a photo from that event. Maybe not all 20 people obviously are in the photo, but I want to reach as many people as possible. So I tag 20 people thinking I'm doing an amazing job in my post.
And you're doing an amazing job at those algorithms saying,
So
only
why
two
wouldn't that
people,
be good?
only 2 people commented on it. So you're over tagging. So you're trying to beat the algorithm, and the algorithm is smart enough to say, yeah, no, that's not going to work. So if you post and you tag 2 or 3 people, and those 2 or 3 people comment, like, and share, it's going to get boosted up. But if you tag 10 people and only 1 person comments, the algorithm's going to say, you're trying to stuff it, and it's going to actually do the opposite.
That was really helpful to me, by the way.
Because the algorithm is smart. I mean, they've made it smart enough to read these things and say, nope, that's not going to fly. I know that's not real. All those people. Or the bigger thing is when you're tagging people, make sure they're on LinkedIn.
Well, that was the real practical thing that I got from what you shared with me. If they're not active or if they're not on LinkedIn and I tag someone's name, knowing they're not going to respond, I shouldn't be tagging their name, right?
It could hurt. I mean, you could tag them, but if you got 5 people that aren't going to respond and only 2 that are, then it's going to switch the algorithms. So you could take one or two people that are in the photo,
Yeah,
or you just put their name in there without the tag on it
got it.
to give them credit because you don't want to exclude somebody,
True. That's a good point.
but you do have to play with the algorithms to make sure more people see it.
Okay.
So if you know 10 people are out there and active on LinkedIn, go ahead and tag them. But if they're not, I just did an event and there were 20 people there. I only tagged 4
Smart.
because the rest of them were just learning how to use LinkedIn. And I know
Yeah,
they weren't out there and they weren't going to look at that. They weren't going to see it.
that's really helpful. How personal should I be on LinkedIn? Because I know I see some posts where they're sharing aspects of their personal life. Other people on LinkedIn are only sharing their professional life. Are both right? Are both wrong? What what would you say to
And
anybody?
that, there's a really fine line there because I want to get to know you and I want you to invite me in and share part of your personal life. But there is things that are a little bit too personal. This is not Facebook. Do not share your Facebook personal life on LinkedIn. Somebody was posting their anniversary photo. That's great. Congratulations. But if you're not telling me a story about it or why it's relatable, it's just becomes clutter in my newsfeed. So if you have somebody else posted their anniversary photo, but they told a story about the relationship and tied it in between relationships with business and personal, and so it made sense. But if you're just sharing, here's my 25th anniversary photo before and when I got married and now, that's great. But what value did it just bring to me?
That's a really good lens to look through, isn't it?
Yeah. So there is personal, and I want to get to know you. Like you talked about the art you created, and you showed your personal story about your teacher, your instructor, and how it influenced you. That's personal and letting me get to know you and letting me in your world. But it was something that I found interesting, and it really did help me get to know you.
And it related to my career because he gave me an insight that I could carry with me all my life as
Yes.
an artist and designer.
And you shared some of those tips with us. And you had said something about seeing things from a different perspective. And I read that differently. I read that as how people see their business through a different perspective when I work with them. So that story was relatable in different ways to me, but it was a story instead of just a photo of here I am.
And you shared something with me that, because I had asked you this question several months ago in one of our consulting meetings.
I must have shared a lot with you.
You have, you forget. But I remember, I'm trying to remember.
You do an amazing job.
Because how personal should I be was my question to you, and you said as personal as you feel comfortable with. And also you compared with Facebook as well, but I thought that was a beautiful lens. Like if you feel comfortable with sharing some of the personal things, and then that insight of connecting it to our business world is really profound. Having that storytelling element is really profound because now it's a little bit harder to share. You have to be more thoughtful,
Hmm.
but now we're connecting with people on the level where it's supposed to be in that platform.
And you really got that. Once I told you that, the light bulb just went on. I could
Yeah,
see it did. In all of your posts, it's happening now too. And you are more comfortable sharing you, but you share yourself in such a different way through your stories. But it lets me get to know you and it lets other people get to know you. And I love to see your post, I have to say, because they're that so good. But we can share ourselves in different ways without just putting selfies out there, without putting, here's my wedding picture, here's my birthday, tell a story about it. Why are you sharing that? Because if you're just sharing a photo to share a photo, just again, 5 generic posts for the week, after a while, I'm going to skip over all of them because I'm going to see your photo and say, there's no value there for me. If you give me value, if you make me, maybe it made me laugh. Maybe you shared a funny story that had nothing to do with business, but it
wow.
just made me laugh. And don't we
Yeah,
all need that?
yeah. We all need that every day.
Yeah. I had a young lady I was meeting with, and she happened to be working at a boutique. She owned the boutique, and it was winter, and she had fell on the ice and ripped her jeans. And she was meeting with it. So she went and changed her clothes. She just grabbed some clothes out from the boutique and changed. And so we made that a story. And all these people are like, oh my gosh, it was super icy. Oh my gosh, I have fallen too. And I've ripped my pantyhose. So everybody was engaging, though it was a personal story. And was it important? No. But it was real life and it was
Yeah,
relatable.
I love that.
And for her business, it was okay to share that story.
Yep.
So think about the people that are reading your content. Is it relatable to them? Does it add value? Does it make their day in some way? Even if it makes them laugh or it makes them think or it makes them see things differently
Hmm.
or maybe just something heartfelt for a minute. Does it give them any value at all? If it doesn't, you need to either take it down or twist it up a little bit to make sure there's value in it.
Beautiful. Anything else, Karen?
Nothing that I can think of. We've talked about a lot today.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a whole lot more.
Well,
I don't have my cheat sheet with me.
Well, you remind me of that TV show that I watched when I was a little kid in the I shouldn't even say the decade, 70s, Kung Fu, where the master knew that the student was ready to go on his own when he could take the pebble out of his hand quick enough before he could close his hand. And the master would call him Grasshopper. So I'm Grasshopper, you're the master.
Oh, that's humbling. That is so humbling.
So I encourage everybody, hire Karen, get her into your world, and she will free you up and transform your social media presence. Just having someone by your side that can guide you step by step and really help you lay a strong foundation in your profile and then in how you look at the content that you create, it will be freeing and it will really help build genuine relationships on those platforms. So
And that's what it's about but that's what it's about in life is instead of just keep crossing paths, let's build those relationships because that's the heart and soul of our business are the relationships. So if we're not building those on LinkedIn or on social media, a lot of times we're just spinning our wheels.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Chef. I really enjoyed this.
It's been a blast. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.